Before we move forward, please like, subscribe, and share Strategic Vanguard and be up to date with the latest news and happenings from the world of defense and strategic affairs. Tune into our video channels in Rumble and YouTube. And if you want to hear the audio version, please tune into Strategic Vanguard Deep Dive in Spotify.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're pulling back the curtain a bit on some of the unseen forces really shaping global geopolitics. We're starting with this idea, that national borders, they aren't just physical lines drawn on a map. They're more like a complex, high-stakes, silent chessboard of intelligence.
Exactly. A game played in the shadows.
Right. And our mission for this deep dive is, we've got this stack of fascinating sources, articles, research papers, expert notes. We're going to sift through them, extract the crucial bits about how India's intelligence agencies operate, often silently, in some incredibly strategic and, let's face it, dangerous parts of the world. The goal is to get beyond the usual headlines, to really understand what's actually happening on this silent chessboard.
And it's so important because, in today's geopolitics, information isn't just power, it's increasingly becoming the ultimate weapon, wouldn't you say? Modern wars, they're often won not just by traditional military strength, tanks, and soldiers, but by covert ops, by advanced intelligence gathering. So this isn't just about, recounting events. It's about why these shadow operations are profoundly shaping the world you live in.
That really brings us to the core idea we want to unpack today, how this shift from traditional warfare means the real strength, the real shape of a nation's frontier. Mm-hmm. It isn't always what you see on the map. Mm-hmm. It's fundamentally driven by intelligence.
Yeah.
So prepare yourselves. We're going from the freezing Himalayan peaks down to the tropical waters of the Andaman Sea, exploring how India navigates this whole shadow zone.
You're absolutely right to frame it that way. The sources we looked at really underscore this shift. Modern conflicts, they're increasingly decided by satellites, surveillance drones, signals intelligence, SIGINT, and even just whispers, as one source dramatically put. And India's borders, particularly with China and Pakistan, they're among the most sensitive, the most militarized globally, so those whispers, incredibly potent.
So when we talk about these whispers, this silent chessboard, we really need to introduce the key players, shouldn't we?
Definitely.
First up, probably the most well-known, is the Research and Analysis Wing, or RAW. India's external intelligence agency. Now, our sources stress that obviously much of what they do is highly classified.
Of course.
But, strategic leaks, some declassified accounts, they paint a picture of RAW being deeply embedded in conflict zones. Think Pakistan-occupied Kashmir, Nepal, and increasingly the wider Indo-Pacific.
Yeah, their footprint seems quite significant based on what we can piece together.
But RAW isn't the only piece here, is it? There's also the National Technical Research Organization, the NTRO.
Right, the NTRO. You can sort of think of it as India's equivalent of the NSA in the U.S.
Okay.
They handle the technical side, the signals intelligence, the satellite surveillance. They're mapping terrain, intercepting communications, tracking troop movements, sometimes from thousands of kilometers away.
Sure. RAW and NTRO, they're like the twin pillars of India's external intelligence game, constantly scanning this silent chessboard.
Pretty much, and their capabilities are constantly being tested, especially in really tough environments, like you mentioned, the Himalayas.
Okay, let's zoom in on that. Let's talk about a really specific, kind of pivotal example. The 2020 Galwan clashes with China.
Ah, yes, Gal.
Our sources frame these not just as a border skirmish, but as a real turning point in how India perceives its high-altitude borders.
Absolutely. And one of the key takeaways, a really critical, maybe lesser-known fact that comes out of the sources, is that Indian intelligence had actually picked up patterns of Chinese troop buildup weeks before that fatal clash.
Weeks before? Wow. So that raises the obvious question then. Why weren't they better prepared? What happened there?
Well, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And it highlights something crucial the sources point to. It's not just about collecting the intel, it's the immense challenge of first figuring out the intent behind ambiguous signal.
Right, separating noise from the real threat.
Exactly. And then there's the hurdle of translating that raw intelligence into immediate, decisive action, navigating, bureaucratic channels and potential delays.
That sounds incredibly tough, dealing with that ambiguity when the stakes are so high. So, besides the physical challenges of the terrain up there, which must be immense.
Oh, absolutely.
Do the sources suggest other factors, maybe political or doctrinal challenges that might have hindered acting on that intel at Galwan?
They certainly do. I mean, the physical challenges are huge. You've got very limited satellite passes over specific areas, cloud cover, snow. The mountains themselves, they can distort readings significantly. And human intelligence, humine, getting people on the ground. Even harder, very few locals, extremely limited communication infrastructure in those remote spots. But beyond that, yes, the sources hint at the difficulty of interpreting intelligence correctly, especially if there's maybe an underlying assumption or hope that things won't escalate beyond a certain point.
A sort of confirmation bias, perhaps.
Potentially, yeah. Or just underestimating the adversary's willingness to push things. It's complex.
And what's really striking, though, is how India seems to be pushing for some genuinely cutting-edge solutions to overcome these exact problems, according to the sources.
Yes, that's a key point.
We're seeing mentions of things like thermal drones. These can spot heat signatures even in fog or at night, right?
Right.
And AI-driven terrain monitoring, which can process huge amounts of satellite data way faster than humans, looking for tiny changes.
That's right. The AI angle is becoming huge for sifting through data.
And there was even a hint, wasn't there, in one report about collaboration between DRDO, the Defense Research and Development Organization, and ISRO, the space agency.
Yes, on synthetic aperture radar, or SAR, satellites.
Which is a big deal because
SAR basically uses radio waves. It can see through clouds, see at night. It gives you reliable imagery regardless of weather or time of day, which is critical in a place like the Himalayas, a potential game changer for surveillance up there.
So the takeaway seems to be that along the line of actual control, the LAC, intelligence isn't just a passive background tool anymore.
Not at all. The sources make it very clear. It's now the first and arguably the most critical line of defense. It's about being proactive, gathering information not just to deter, but potentially to preempt or respond with incredible speed.
Okay, so we've talked about the high mountains, the physical border, but the sources also make it really clear that the fight isn't just there anymore. The lines on the map are still contested, fiercely so, but maybe the most damaging fronts now. They're invisible.
You mean the digital battlefield?
Exactly, where attacks come in bikes, not bullets.
Indeed. And India's intelligence world is evolving fast to deal with cyber threats, cyber espionage. One quite sterling example the sources brought up was from 2022.
What was that?
Apparently, Chinese-linked hackers targeted India's power grids, specifically those near Ladakh.
Near Ladakh. So close to the fizzle friction point.
Precisely. The assessment wasn't that it was meant to cause a blackout then and there, but possibly as a probe, testing vulnerabilities, maybe sending a message or prepping for a larger disruption if needed. It really shows how critical infrastructure is now on the front line.
And how is India responding? What do the sources say about the countermeasures?
Well, there's significant effort. Agencies are partnering up with CERT, that's India's main computer emergency response team, and also DRDO, bringing defense research into cyber defense. They're creating integrated cyber command centers.
Okay.
And you also see the Army's Information Warfare Division expanding aggressively. They're actively recruiting ethical hackers, AI specialists, cyber analysts, building up offensive and defensive cyber capabilities.
But there's a catch, isn't there? I think one source called it an uncomfortable truth.
Yes. The assessment seems to be that India's cyber defense, while improving, is still largely reactive. It's focused on defending after an attack is detected.
Which raises a huge question.
Exactly. How do you effectively defend against a massive, often state-sponsored cyber machine like China's, especially when their doctrine, as described, kind of blends state actors with civilian hackers, blurring the lines, and there are no clear borders or rules of engagement in cyberspace?
It's like trying to defend against, well, ghosts, as you said earlier, an adversary that might leave no clear footprint.
It's an incredibly difficult asymmetric challenge.
Okay, let's shift gears geographically now. Let's take everyone on a journey from the freezing north all the way down to the deep south of India, to the Andaman and Nicobar Islands.
The Andaman Command.
Right, and this is unique, isn't it? It's India's only tri-service theater command, Army, Navy, Air Force, all under one operational commander there.
That's correct. And crucially, the reports we looked at really highlight the significant, though maybe often overlooked, strategic role these islands play.
In what way?
They host some of India's most secret surveillance assets. We're talking long-range radars, sophisticated underwater sensors to track submarines, electronic intelligence gathering stations, the works.
And their location is key.
Absolutely critical. They sit like a natural aircraft carrier, or maybe more accurately, a natural intelligence outpost, slap bang, overlooking the Malacca Strait.
And the Malacca Strait is? Remind us.
It's one of the world's most vital maritime choke points. An astonishing figure often cited is that something like 60% of China's imported oil passes through that narrow strait.
60%, wow.
Okay, so controlling or at least having visibility over that strait is strategically massive.
So let's connect the dots here for you, the listener. What does this mean? India has this advanced radar network, these sensors on the islands. And the sources mention this often works in conjunction with, say, American satellite data.
Intelligence sharing is key here.
Making the Malacca Strait one of the most heavily monitored maritime choke points on the planet. It's an incredible level of surveillance, providing real-time intelligence on a huge volume of global shipping and naval activity.
And if you link this to the bigger geopolitical picture, especially with the rise of CRED cooperation, that's the security dialogue between the US, Japan, Australia, and India.
Right.
India, partly thanks to its position in the Andamans and its growing capabilities, is slowly but surely becoming a crucial eyes and ears for the wider Indo-Pacific region.
Providing maritime domain awareness.
Exactly. This strategic positioning isn't just about India's security. It has profound global implications. It affects trade routes, energy security for multiple nations, and the overall balance of power across this vast region.
So let's try and bring this all together now, circling back to where we started. That initial idea.
The silent chessboard.
Yeah. Borders might look like simple lines on a map. We see them, they seem fixed. But real power, real security, as we've hopefully shown today based on these sources, it lies in the unseen. It lies in what you know before an adversary makes a move.
It's a constant silent battle for information, isn't it? Fought in the Himalayas, fought in cyberspace, fought across vital sea lanes like the Malacca Strait. And maybe a final thought to leave with you is this. In this silent war of shadows, the sources really seem to suggest that intelligence isn't just another government department or capability. It's becoming something closer to, well, destiny.
Destiny. How so?
Think about it. Knowing or not knowing about those subtle troop movements near Galwan, or about hidden cyber vulnerabilities, or about unseen ship traffic heading towards a choke point. That knowledge, or lack of it, directly impacts national security. It shapes events, sometimes decisively, long before they ever become headlines. Intelligence shapes the future.
It's a powerful thought. We really hope this deep dive has given you a sense of the sheer depth and complexity of these hidden operations and maybe encourages you to think a bit differently about how our world is being shaped, often far beyond what makes it into the daily news cycle.